welcome to another mini tips. Guys, we've done so much. We've covered some ifs, count, we got VLOOKUP, pivot tables. Make sure you check those videos out if you haven't done so. In today's video, we will be looking at if statements, if function. I'm going to be looking at if function. We're going to be looking at nested if statements, and we're going to be looking at if and or. Yeah, so make sure you stay tuned to the end. This is going to be very interesting. Very. It's going to be good. It's going to be good stuff. Yeah. So let's dive right into it. What is if statement? If statement is basically having a condition or a logical test that you want to test out and finding out if that logic is true or false. I've got a very simple example here to start with. So basically, I want to test my passing score. So anything above 60 amongst my students is pass. Anything below 60, I want it to be fail. So if I get the formula in that cell, and then let's get cracking. All right, let's do this. So if statement, quite simply, you type if. So our logical test would be if that score is greater than or equals to 60, right? That is my test. I'm going to lock in that 60 so that it wouldn't move. So that's my logical test. And if that C3 is equals or above 60, I want you to give me a pass. Pass. And if it's not, if it's false, or if it does not meet that condition, I want you to give me a fail. And then close your bracket. Quite simply, that formula is if C3 on my logical test, C3 equals greater than or equals 60, else L2. And if that's the case, give me pass, and if it's not, give me fail. So you notice the last part of the formula is almost a default. So that is if that condition is not met, give me fail. Right, enter, and then I will drag this down. Now you can see my formulas working. So that's it really for very simple if formulas. If statement, it's quite useful. I use it quite a lot. And then we're gonna build on this. So stay tuned and watch out for the next section. That was a basic if statement. We are going to move into something a bit more complicated, a nested if statement. So basically, nested is having at least one if statement inside another, and then testing more and more condition to get possible more results. Basically, so having more and more if statement embedded into each other. It's not as complicated as that sounds. But let's dive into an example so I can walk you through how this works. So my example here is I need to put nest if statements within the sheet to tell me the score from 90, from 100 to 70. So basically anything less than 70, I want to give it F. Anything less than 75, I want it D. Anything less than 85, I want a C. And anything less than 95, I want B, and so on and so forth. And then the default will definitely be A. So let me type the formula and then we can talk through how this works in a minute. So let's do if that cell C is greater than or is less than 70, I wanted to give it F. comma. So that's our first logical test. Now we're going to build on another test and nest and put, that's our first logical test. Now we're going to build on this and add more if statements inside of this, nest it all together so we can get more conditions in. So another if, that same cell is less than 75. I want it to give me a D. And another if, that same cell is less than 85, and I want that to be a D. Sorry, a C. Already done D. And our final nested if, that same cell is less than 95. I want it to give me A, B. And if any of these statements are not true, if any of these conditions are not met, I want you to give me A. Don't forget, if the last condition is almost a default, right? So it's a default if all the conditions are not met. So basically, guys, as you can see, I've nested. I've got more than one ifs here. I think you can nest up to, you can embed up to 64 if statements inside each other and keep building on the conditions. So it works quite well because you can see how that builds from 70 to 75 to 85. And as that's building on, it's giving you the condition you've asked for. So Excel is very clever in that sense. So that's how it works. It working for me at the moment, and you can see how my results are being shown on that column. So that's it for nested if. It's basically having more and more condition embedded into each other and then building on that condition so you can get possible more and more results. So folks, that was nested if. We are going to do if and now. So if you've not done if and, it's quite useful. I use it quite often as well. So basically I use it when you've got two columns you need to test a condition for. So in my example here, what I want to do is test science students as well as the score to get me something. If those two conditions are met, I want that to give me A plus. If not, just put blank. So let's start typing that formula. So I want if and, I use it when, like I said, I use it when I need two columns to meet and give me a logical test. So I want the department. So let me do the first one first. I want the score. I want C3. If C3 is greater than 80, I want you also to test if F3 is equals to science. And then don't forget to close your bracket to lock in those two conditions, because I think this is where most people go wrong. So you have to close bracket to lock those two conditions inside that little space. Then if those two conditions are true, I want you Excel to give me A plus. That's not A plus. Yep. And if that isn't true, I just want you to give me blank, right? So see how that works. I've got those two columns to test my condition. If C, which is a score, is greater than 80, and if F, which is department, is science, um, anything to do with science greater than 80, give me A plus. If not, just leave it blank. Okay, that is blank because it's not greater than 80. Let me, if I drag this down, you can see that's 90, that's A plus, that's 81, that's A plus, that's 96, A plus, and the science students. I can see it's anything above 80, that's not science. So if we change that to say math, and that will disappear. Right, so that was if and. Next, we're going to be looking at if or. Folks, that was if and. We're going to be looking at if or. If or is, I use it mostly when I have stuff within one column that I want to test a condition on. So if I have more than one condition that I want to test, but it's within the same column, I use if or. Remember, if and I used it when I had two columns, separate columns, I needed to test stop for. If or is within the same column, and I want, as I drag it down, if the condition changes, I want different results based on um, stuff within that column. Right. So let's test that out. So let's do if or. That's what we want. A logical test would be color. Let's use color, right? So if that cell um, equals, let's say blue or red, let's say equals red, and comma, that same cell, or let's say or if that same cell equals blue or yellow, let's say blue. And then I want to lock my condition in. So don't forget to lock the condition in. Those are my two conditions. Looking at the same column, column A, if that column or that cell, as we drag down, equals red or blue, if any of those are met, if any of those are in that column, I want you to take the result and then I want you to add 10 to the end of it. And if that result is false, I just want you to give me blank. So guys, let me just explain what we just did there. So we're looking at in column A, if any, as we drag down, if it's red or blue, I want you to take the score and add 10 to it. Otherwise, just leave it as blank. So that's what that formula is doing. So let's press enter. You can see that's red. It's taken 45 and added 10 to it. That's 55 now. Let's drag this down. As you drag it down, you can see my scores have been added. Okay, that don't quite work because that's 106. You can't have 106, but let's just go with that. And that's it really. That's quite simply if or. So let's recap. We've done basic if statement, and we've done nested if, we've done if and we've done if or. So yes, that was many tips. I hope that was clear. Thanks for watching and see you soon.